Managing Director of a company called Ipsos. And Ipsos is a global market research company. So market research involves asking consumers, going out into the streets and interviewing consumers about products and concepts and services or brands and communications. So we work with a big variety of different clients on these market research projects. Like many people, I hadn't really heard of market research before going into it, and a friend of mine found a job, started working at a market research company, and recommended me to the industry. So I met a company then, the managing director of a company, who told me all about what the research industry did, and it sounded interesting. So I went for it, and that was the launch of my career. Normally for me it's to do with people, so I've met certain people so far in my career who kind of inspire. So originally when I came out to Asia, I worked for a company called AMI that became Synovate. And there was a guy called Adrian Chidori who had a view of work and life and working with clients which very corresponded to my kind of view of life. So that was a very inspiring moment. Also recently I set up for Ipsos in Malaysia from scratch, setting up an office from scratch, and it was a big challenge to get it off the ground and to become successful, but it worked very well, and you know, that whole kind of period was a very inspiring time as well. So I think those couple of incidents stand out for me. It's always challenging to keep growing a company, so when a company becomes very successful, obviously the next year you need to kind of keep growing and keep sustaining that kind of momentum, so that's always challenging. At the moment I'm going through a kind of combination process. Ipsos acquired a company called Synovate very recently, who I used to work for in Malaysia, but at the moment we're combining the two businesses and making sure that that process is smooth for clients and good for employees. So I think that's at this moment in particular is quite a challenging time, but also a very positive and inspiring time as well. I enjoy recruiting people or developing people, so luckily I'm very fortunate in my job that I'm able to recruit a lot of people, and then seeing them kind of progress and develop and become managers and directors and then bosses and progressing their career is probably the most enjoyable part. Working in the market research industry, I'd say the most important characteristic, as in most businesses, is to be positive. If you're positive, you're already on your way. If you can combine that with being smart and willing to learn, then your career will progress. General intelligence is by far the most important characteristic, rather than having a particular degree or a particular discipline. I'd say market research is probably a little bit of science that is to do with maths, etc., but quite a lot of art and common sense. So as long as you have common sense and a willingness to learn, then I think you will progress very well. And I'd say the final thing is probably working as part of a team, and knowing how to work with people and be part of a team is incredibly important. So having those interpersonal skills will enable you to progress in market research, as in any industry.